All right, everybody, welcome to the Habibi Show, episode number 12. I am Hector Garcia, if you're just tuning in. And I'm joined here with a special guest, CJ Bula.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, CJ. Sammer is on vacation. He's traveling Mr. Worldwide. The Habibi himself, he's gone. But right now we have CJ today joining us to sit in for Sammer. CJ has I met CJ about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, about 2 years.
A little bit of background about CJ. CJ is a local resident to here in Houston, Texas. He's also a business owner. He is a family man, a father of two. He's a previous resident of New York.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of go into all of that. But CJ, brother, man, glad to have you on the
honor.
show. Salud.
Salud. Cheers.
So CJ, one thing that intrigued me about, as I got to get to know you, is that your story. Your story of when you were in New York, you were an NYPD officer. Tell me about your experience with that. How long you've been with the force and your experience there.
First and foremost, it's we've been talking about this, getting together for a while.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to sit in the seat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm born and raised in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in the Bronx. Lived up in Yonkers a little bit of my childhood, then moved up to Westchester. I come from a family of police officers, so everybody in my family was a cop.
Right.
It's something that I didn't want to do.
Right.
I was like, I want to be something different. So it just ended up me becoming a cop. I joined the NYPD in 2017 and worked until 2020. And I was a cop in Harlem. You see everything from, everything you pretty much see on TV is everything that, us police officers at the time went through. And especially during, COVID, the pandemic, the riots. And that pretty much is how I ended up over here.
Yeah. So you ended up during COVID, you moved here to Houston. And moving to Houston, you didn't, I think when you first told me, you didn't know anybody while you were here. You came here. And then while you were here, you had your first kid?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was in New York.
Okay.
I did. In 2019, my daughter Bella was born.
Okay.
And that was a big reason why I came out to Houston.
Okay.
Because I just wanted a better life for her.
Right.
And a better future. And in New York, there was a lot of chaos going on.
Yeah.
The streets were crazy.
Yeah.
And the future wasn't really too promising, especially with the way the school systems were and the environment.
Quality of life.
Yeah, the quality of life. I went to school in the Bronx up until high school, and I would ride the train and the bus. And I'm just thinking in my head, I would never let my kids ride the train and the bus now because of all the violence.
And the stuff that you see too, because you were seeing that firsthand while you were there as a police officer. You're seeing all the violence, and obviously being a son to another police officer, you saw the transgression or the degression of society there in New York, which caused you to realize that now that you're a young father, you mind me asking how old are you?
I'm 33.
33. So in those days, you're like 28, 29.
Yeah.
When you had your firstborn, and then you start thinking, okay, as a father, I want to make sure that the quality of life of my kid, my daughter, is better. And so you moved to Houston. Why Houston?
Well, my wife had some family out here, and during COVID, I said there was so much uncertainty. I said just go out to Houston. I was pretty much sleeping in the precinct.
Okay.
Every single day, I was working 16 to 18-hour shifts.
Right.
So I was barely home. If anything, I would maybe just go and get a change of clothes. So I said just go out to Houston. There's a lot of uncertainty. You'll be good there. You'll be here with your family, and we'll figure the rest out. They shut traveling down, so I couldn't even travel to go see. So I didn't see there was a time period where I didn't see my daughter for like 3-4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be a FaceTime dad.
Right.
So I finally got a week off in July of 2020. Came out here, and I was like, well, hold on. The stores are open. The gym's open. I was like, back in New York, everything's closed. We didn't have any, it was nothing. It took a toll.
Yeah, you had to eat outside, I think, at one point.
Yeah, you had to eat outside.
You had cards that you were getting that you got vaccinated too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they had the cards going. Most of the time I was eating inside of a police car or on the hood of the police car.
Wow.
So I finally came out here and I was like, wow, everything's open. Nobody's wearing a mask. I said,
it was like almost normal.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to resign.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come out here and I'll figure the rest out. And like nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone. So I finally get back. I called my sergeant the weekend. So I was supposed to come in that Monday. I called him on a Saturday. I said, hey, just let you know, I'm coming on Monday to resign. And he was like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah. And at this point, you're like 3 or 4 years on the force already?
Yeah. I was about, 3 years and about 6 months.
Okay.
So 6 months in the academy.
Yeah.
And then 3 years on the street in Harlem, which is like equivalent to doing 10 years.
Right.
With what you see.
Yeah.
So I called him. I said, hey, he's like, yeah, you coming back from vacation Monday? I said, yeah, I'm coming back, but I'm coming back to resign. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I didn't tell anyone. And I didn't even tell my mom or dad or anything.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone. The only person that knew was, my wife.
Yeah.
And she didn't even believe me. She's like, there's no way. This is your career, like you're going to be there for the next 20 years. And I just knew in my heart that I had to be there for my daughter. And at that time, I had to make a decision and pretty much bet on myself.
Right.
Coming out here with no plan, no family, and just gonna kind of like figure it out. So that's at that moment, that's what I did, and I put my family first,
sure,
my daughter,
yeah,
and bet on myself. And now here we are.
Yeah. So you moved here.
Yep.
And by the way, man, big jump, and props to you for that too.
Thank
as well. And also showing, obviously, leaving a career, everything you've built in a career, to come here to Houston in a place that you didn't know, you weren't really familiar with.
Nothing.
The heat. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But but also to come here, and then also, what was the response from your family back home when you did that?
Well, when I first broke the news to them, there was a lot of disappointment. Because like I said, they were both police officers, and it was a very, very proud moment once I graduated and, walked the stage and, put the badge on. Wow. Very, very proud moment for my family. But they didn't really understand, and there's no fault to them.
Sure.
As much as it was a disappointment for me at the time that they couldn't understand that, I knew it was the best decision for me.
Right.
And what I had to do was basically explain that to them, and say, hey, look, I have to put my family first and, believe in myself. I knew that I had certain skills that would carry over to wherever I was at. I knew that I had a business degree. I knew that, I guess I would say like a gift to connect with people.
Right.
So I felt confident, even though I had no plan. So, their response, they couldn't believe it. My brother, my sisters, my siblings. I came here. I literally drove from New York with my brother-in-law to Texas, got here September 1st of 2020. Just like that.
Yeah.
Totally like off the cuff.
Yeah. And so you moved here. What were you doing?
So I moved here. And I was
during
like,
COVID, right? So
yeah. So I moved here and I was like, you know what? I'm taking off.
Yeah.
I was so burnt out of working around the clock with all these different shifts.
The riots were happening.
The riots were happening. Feeling unappreciated just because you're wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
Going to these protests where people are spitting on you, or cursing at you, calling you all different types of names just because you wear a uniform.
Wow.
So I said, you know what? I need a couple months off. So I came here and just like I took like 8 months off. And all I did, believe it or not, a kid who's born in the Bronx, I was just hopped on a lawnmower and just mowed the lawn, so relaxing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so peaceful out here. It was definitely a big change of pace.
Right.
So I did that for a couple months.
And I think you told me too, when you first got here, you didn't even know how to start a lawnmower.
I didn't know how to start a lawnmower.
Right.
I didn't know how to make a mix oil. I didn't know what a weed eater was, how to put like the line in it.
Yeah, that's because in New York, where's your family from? New York or something like that? Rhode Island, right? So you're from the Northeast. it's concrete.
Yeah.
There's no yards to mow.
Absolutely.
So here in Texas, we got big yards and landscaping and stuff like that.
And a lot of Texas, now that I own my own landscaping company,
right.
A lot of people take pride in it. And I know from the first episode, you said your dad told you to mow lawns when you were like 9 years old.
Right.
So for me, like,
that was a rite of passage.
being a kid born in the Bronx, even when my parents, we moved to a house in Westchester when I was in 10th grade, my dad took care of the lawn.
Yeah.
I was by far the least handiest person that you could imagine. So I'd be calling my neighbor and I say, hey, how do I put this string on? What direction do you put the weed eater? And his guy's laughing at me.
Yeah.
He's like, these city boys. And I'm like, and it's pretty
city slickers.
Yeah, and he's like, come on, you don't know how to do this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's pretty ironic now. Like, I would have never thought in a million years that I would own a landscaping company where this is what we do every day.
Yeah, and that's one thing that really kind of really sparked just excitement, as far as, your story is that you came here not knowing what to expect, not even knowing how to operate, landscaping equipment, a lawnmower or a weed eater, yet today you're running a very successful business doing landscaping, and you have multiple people on your team. I'm a proud client of your company. By the way, his company's name is Supreme Landscaping. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But going back to those days, you started this business, young father, left New York, here in Houston, and now what made you? Okay, I know I'm mowing yards, but what made you say, okay, now I'm going to start a landscaping business?
So again, like, when the property that we moved on was in a town called Huffman. The property was 5 acres. So,
right.
For the first couple months that I moved here, I would just work on the property just to kill time, just for something to do. And I thought that I was gonna maybe become a cop here again,
right, or
be a firefighter, which I was like 3 days away from joining the academy, HFD.
You missed out on that $80,000 bonus.
Now, but before, these guys were getting paid 30.
Oh, I know they're.
And I was
HFD. Props to them.
Yeah.
They stuck it out for a while.
Yeah, I got one of my clients who's at HFD. Yeah. He was super happy about finally the new contract that they got. But I was tired of, to be honest with you, I was tired of the politics of things, of whether a mayor, whether there's a budget, and whether you get more money. When in New York
especially working for government. Yeah.
In New York City, we were out of a contract for 7 years. The contract just got settled. So, it's the civil service, the first responders, it's a thankless job. And, I would just say, you know what?
But also not being appreciated at the same time.
Exactly. That too. Yeah. So I already knew where the end game was for that. Yeah. So I said, as I'm here, I'm driving around, I see, everybody has a trailer attached. So, everyone's cutting grass.
Everybody has a pickup.
Yeah, everybody has a pickup truck. Yeah. I had to get that. I had to get the pickup truck. My last car in New York was a BMW 5 Series. Yeah. So now I have a Tundra pickup truck. Yeah. So I'm like, everybody's cutting grass. So my mother-in-law had some guys working at the house.
Right.
And they're like, hey, why don't you start your own business? You have a business degree. And I said, yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know really how to do it. I knew I had a skill to connect with people, but as far as the actual physical work, I didn't know that too much. So I was a little bit intimidated. So I said, you know what? I got a job with an insurance company for the time being.
Okay.
So that was a Monday through Friday. So I said, you know what? Let me go get a mower. I'll start on the weekends. My first 2 clients was my house and my sister-in-law's house, which I made no money on.
Yeah.
I was just cutting it. I hired a helper. So every weekend we would go out and, I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's get a yard, make 3 yards, 4 yards. Okay. And then from there I started to see like, wow, I'm in control of my own destiny.
Right.
And
the more work you put in, the more you're getting out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm learning. These guys are around me learning. So, and then from there, like, we're here today and I have 10 employees.
Yeah.
We've got like over 200 clients that we cut, commercial clients.
You got a big deal today too as well.
A big deal today as well too.
Congrats.
Thank you. Shout out to Toyota.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a very, very, it's been a learning process.
Right.
And, you've been in the position too, because we've spoke and, you've coached me a lot on a lot of different things. And you said, I mean, and this is why I'm thankful for our relationship because, number one, it came out of left field.
Sure, yeah.
And number two,
right.
I think you probably see me as like a little brother, like,
yeah.
hey, you always check in, CJ.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like I've been through, I believe you're in year 12.
Yeah.
Right? You're in year 12. I'm in year 3.
Yeah. That's it.
So you always, I always appreciate like you always checking in like, hey, I know you're busy.
Yeah.
You just had a kid. You know, I know how it is. You're just checking in. So I always value that about our relationship.
Yeah, man. Salute to that, by the way. Cheers.
Cheers. Happy dads.
Yeah, that's it. One thing about, CJ, we start talking and hanging out like 2 years ago, and I got to know your story, and I saw myself in you because I started this company when I was 30, and I had 3 kids at the time, and it was tough. I started off with my daughter's pink bedroom. I told you the story. Everybody knows the story if you're watching. Started in a pink bedroom. Young father at the time, and went through a lot of risk, a lot of challenges to get to where I am today. And one thing is that I believe that what God has given me is one of my purposes in life. I believe my purpose in life too is there's individuals out there that be someone to that person that you needed to be, that you needed at that age. And I look at you and I see, man, two beautiful family.
Thank
you. You bust your ass and working. You're a hard worker. A risk taker. That's one thing. If you're planning on running a business, you got to take risk, take loss.
You got to be a little bit off too.
Yeah, you got to be delusional. Delusional, and and I see that, and I see a younger version, a browner version, and a hairier version of me. Of me when I was at your age. And, I wish, and now that I'm older, I do have mentors. I have people in my life who are older, and I'm not saying I'm not to you, but, I have people who I consider like my brothers, and they look after me, they check after me. And I feel like I have the obligation, and we have the obligation to also to pass that on or be able to do that to somebody else. And I do have people who check on me, but also I know that, hey, there is a youngster who's younger than me, who's 3 years in business.
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years in business, and by far from what I've seen, you're a whole lot more further than what I was at that point in business. And at least the least thing I could do is, man, at least be that person that I needed at that point in my journey in running a business.
For sure.
Because running a business is really difficult, very difficult. Hanson, and by the way, I want to say thanks to our producer, Hanson. If you guys have been tuning in, he's our producer. The other day, Hanson, I walked out of my office. I was stressed out. And I said, what'd I tell you? You remember?
Which time?
But I walked out and I said,
don't ever start a
Don't ever start a business.
business.
I told him that. Don't ever start a business. I was extremely stressed. I'm still stressed.
That's
12
we
years.
live in. That's the reality of it, and going back to you said, especially when you're the first entrepreneur in your family to do it. So, most people, they're like looking for their mom and dad for help.
Yeah.
And this is probably why my parents didn't understand why I was leaving, and then starting my business and, or saying, oh, why don't you just get a job,
Yeah.
But, since I was 14, 15 years old, I was selling sneakers. I was selling.
You always had it in you.
I always had it in me. I was selling, like my cousins.
You had to hustle.
Hey, can you sell these Jordans? Can you flip these?
Yeah.
I was selling, bathing ape clothes, Evisu jeans,
Yeah.
going to meetups, it was just in me.
Yeah.
And I always knew that,
that was for you.
that was for me.
Yeah.
And I always knew,
Yep.
I always said to myself, I'm going to be a businessman, but I just didn't know what business it was going to be.
Same.
Yeah. But, back to what you're saying is being an entrepreneur and a businessman, you're just living in constant chaos, stress, anxiety.
It's
but
hard.
You're living through it, and that's why you got to be a little bit off to
Absolutely.
own your own business, because you're like, all right, well, let's keep it going.
Right.
It's like most people will be like, I want this to end, and then people like us who run a business, we're like, all right, well, how do we get to the next level? And normally the next level is more chaos.
Yes. You started off with me, and I'm sure maybe with you too as well, but it was, how am I going to get, put food on the table?
Correct.
I started with $750. And I started my daughter's pink bedroom. And I was like, man, and I quit cold turkey at a career that I've been working with at that point for 14, 15 years, at a career path that I knew that was a secure income was there.
For sure.
But I was tired of living with the restraints of somebody else and knowing that I was greater than that. There was purpose beyond that. And, and I just went at it, and I just went, knocking on doors, and I had remember black and white flyers, and I sold websites here at Brand Nation for $350 a website, $350. And I was like, supply and demand, price on demand. So in other words, I'm going to price whenever. And it was to the point where I was going door to door, passing out these. I went to the Kroger's, and I made black and white copies of flyers to sell websites.
Wow.
And my nanny to my kids, who was downstairs watching the kids while I was working, I would pay her extra to do cold calling.
Oh, wow.
And she would cold call and set appointments for me. And I would go run around town meeting all these people at Starbucks. And I would sell these websites for $3.99, $3.50. And I was like, man, and so it was to the point where there was so many websites, and I was doing it all by myself. I had no employees. I was building the websites. And then what ended up happening was I got too many websites. I ended up having to refund some of the money. And to me, that was a problem. It's like, okay, now I'm at the point where I need to increase my prices.
Scale, yeah.
And I also need to find help and that's when I hired some part-time help, and then we grew from there. But there was times when it went from, how am I going to feed the kids, pay the rent, pay the bills, and then it went from, now I have employees, how am I going to pay them? Then it went from that to now office space in downtown. Our first space was in 2015. It went from working out of the house to downtown, and that was a big leap of faith. And I remember my rent was like $600 a month in a nice space in downtown, in the co-working space, and I was freaking out, like just having that commitment. Today I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I'm considered just entrepreneurs who are watching me and you.
Yeah.
I went from paying $600 a month, being afraid and taking that risk, knowing that this was an investment into the business. Today I'm paying over $11,000 in rent.
Yeah.
And not only that, that's our Houston office, and then we have our Mexico City office that we're also paying rent. So now we have an office in Mexico City.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't delusional, if I wasn't crazy, if I wasn't crazy enough to do that, I would have never done it, and I wouldn't be where I am today. And going back to, even though I've been 12 years in this, there's always a new level, a new stress.
Yeah.
We recently here at Brand Nation took a big risk on hiring a big payroll. Like this is the highest payroll we've ever had, ever in the 12-year history. But I know that risk is going to pay off. Like I believe it, I know it. But most people would say, Hector, you're crazy. But I believe it's the crazy things. It's the crazy people that do that do incredible things in business, and that's what makes people successful is they're willing to do things that most people, 99.9% of people won't be willing to do.
Yeah.
But and looking back, and then also in seeing your story of where you are today, like we're walking here. Is it okay if I talk about your lease or the place you're looking at? You're showing me your building, and I remember you did a walkthrough and all that, man. And I love that. Like, I will tell you,
I'm like scared shitless. I'm like, lease. We're running out of room. I'm like, guys, we gotta. The guys are telling me, my employees, like, we're running out of room, and I'm like, looking at warehouses, and then I'm like, $3-4 grand a month. I'm like, okay, this plus this. Okay, all right. I like, shit, but let's do it. You gotta kind of be, you
gotta spend money to make money. Correct. And I see when you share those stories with me, like that, like I get like fired up because I will tell you, in that moment, I remember going back in time. If I go back in time and in that moments of saying, man, I'm scared, this is happening, I gotta do this risk or whatever. And in that stress, I wasn't really looking at the journey. I wasn't really enjoying the moment. But looking back, and I say that, man, if I look back, that was building me.
Yeah.
There was greatness in all that.
Yeah.
There was incredible. I didn't enjoy the journey, and I look back, that was simple times compared to where I am today, and I almost missed that. I almost missed the excitement, the excitement of that easy. Not saying it's never easy, but I missed the excitement of that innocent hustle, where you're fired up, man. It's a fresh business. Let's go. It's different. I will tell you, it's different when you're 12 years in and you're still trying to find that excitement. It's like a marriage.
Correct.
I've been married 21 years, and it's a constant trying to find that excitement. Now we do some exciting things here. Don't get me wrong. We're always moving. We're always doing something different. But I look at your stories, and like when you're showing me about the space today, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Here you are, 3 years in business, right? 3 years?
This is my third year. Yeah.
Third year in business.
My third season. Yeah.
200 clients.
Yeah, 200 plus clients right now.
A guy who did not even know how to even start a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Father of now two.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but going back to what you said, I think what you said, trying to find that excitement. I think this is where is a big thing, where your team comes, your support group, who you have around you, they come and play, and they're there to remind you, be your biggest fans, be your biggest cheerleaders, and remind you, like, hey, look how far you come in your darkest moments. My wife tells me all the time, like, she's like, I could be freaking out. Like, most people, they love Fridays, right? Because Fridays they get paid, right? They dread Mondays. Most business owners, they love Mondays, right? Because Friday's payroll, and you're trying to figure out how the hell you're gonna make payroll, right? So Fridays, I always tell her, like, shit, like, we got 10 guys, that depend on you, right, to pay.
It's part of your family. They're on that. You have
and
2 plus 10,
and it's just not 10 guys. Those one each individual has a family of 3, 4, right?
Yep.
So it comes, building a team around you, which takes a lot of time, that could buy into your vision, buy into your culture, that are there to remind you, like you said, like you're taking the next leap, right? Me taking on new clients, it is scary, but with my team, like, and when I say, like, my team at home, my friends, people like you who support me, my actual employees who've we've established a good team, they give me all the confidence that I could do it, even though it's scary in the moment, because I'm thinking, like, well, how could I do it? A couple months back, we got a contract with a hospital, a big hospital, and I'm like, well, how do I do it? Like, I need to get like 2 machines that cost like $15,000 each. And I'm like, okay, well, you got to figure it out. But then, in the back of my head, I remember, you know what, we could take this on. But like you said, it's always a lot of uncertainty. But I think your team, who you have around you, and a lot of times it's not even family, believe it or not.
That's absolutely true.
It's not even family, because a lot of times family don't really understand, like, because you're gonna be like the first entrepreneur, and they don't understand. They want, family's great, but your family always wants you to be safe and secure, and this life isn't safe and secure.
Nobody wants you to take risks.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I'm not gonna speak for you, but even on my behalf, it took my wife a while to get to a place of saying, by the way, cheers, salute to my
seriously,
to my wife, my queen,
awesome.
Eva.
She's awesome.
She's a phenomenal support person, but it took her a while to get the idea that her husband was a entrepreneur and to rally around him. It's kind of hard to I get it. Like, security is important for a woman, so even that was tough too as well. But right now, she's my biggest fan. Like, she is. Of course,
because now you proved yourself. 12 years in, although you're still grinding and you still have goals, you proved to her.
And I go home, and then she has to hear me vent. She has to hear me stressed out or complain that I can't complain here at the office. Hanson hears it once in a while, but he'll say, I tell him, don't start a business. Whatever you do, don't start a business. But, I go home, and she has to hear it every day, and she has to hear that. And I'm sure that puts stress on her.
Oh, absolutely.
But she's my biggest cheerleader. But that's important too, as well as making sure that your partner also is able to support you through all that. And I've seen a lot of times in businesses, and we work with clients too as well, and some of my friends who are business owners, where their significant other is not supportive. I had a very close friend of mine a few years back left his company to go start a business, and his wife left him.
Yeah.
In the middle of all that.
You have to be. It's super important to be aligned. It's super important to be aligned at home. With your significant other. You know how you could find out that you're not aligned?
How's that?
Like, when I go do estimates, and it's whether it's a woman or a guy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I have to check with my wife or husband. If you're aligned, right? Your decision is their decision.
Sure.
And you don't have to check in really like that, because whatever decision you made, she's gonna be okay with.
That's good.
I look at it like that.
Yeah.
And it's.
I got in trouble with that though.
You did?
Yeah.
What
if I make a decision without telling her.
So. Yeah, there's certain things you can't do. I heard a couple stories about you about listening to this pod. So, a couple Mexico trips. That we still got to go on.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you. Whenever you're ready.
We're still gonna go on. Guys trip.
Yeah.
Wife already said okay. Didn't have to ask her. We're aligned.
Last week of July, if you're open.
Last week of July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it.
You do it. Last week of July.
No questions asked.
Okay, you hear that, Bianca?
Yeah. she already knows because we're aligned.
Yeah. We'll see who's aligned.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No. But last week of July, seriously, when we're out there. And by the way, I'm just kidding, Bianca. But yeah, that's important too as well. But good point as far as what you said about, your family. Your family is almost gonna be your biggest people who are gonna say you can't do this. I love my family. I'm talking about my immediate family was my biggest supporters, like my kids, my wife. But extended family. Oh, it's like the naysayers. It's he's not gonna be able to succeed.
Yeah.
It's you're gonna even haters. There are gonna be haters out there too as well, and even jealousy that you're gonna come across. Even friends that I've thought that were friends before I started this business are no longer friends today because of where I am today. So
yeah, or even people in the same space as you.
Yeah,
people that do marketing, people who do that, that want to be buddy and friends with you.
Yeah,
they just want to kind of pick your brain and see what you're doing.
All right, so if you're a commercial business or if you're a homeowner and you're needing the right landscaping done for your property. Or if it's a dealership or if it's a hotel property, there is one company here in town and a team that will also make sure that it is done right and done with quality. I myself is one of the many clients that they have on board. That is Supreme Landscaping. Supreme Landscaping, owned by CJ. CJ and his team, based out of North Houston. They do a phenomenal job making sure the yard is, making sure the landscaping is done manicured. And also, let's just say you have some ideas that you want for the backyard or the front yard, whether you want AstroTurf, I think they still call it that, right? Or if you want, pebbles or whatever, a special walkway, or if you want patios too as well. This team can do it all. If whatever you could dream it, they can make it happen. This is Supreme Landscaping, supremelandscapingtx.com. Look for them on Google, search them up, and CJ and his team will reach out to you. The other day, remember some guy walked in here?
Oh, your fan?
I had a guy just walked in, random guy, just walked in here and asking for me, and he said, is Hector Garcia here? And I need to pick his brain. So I didn't know who he was, never met him in my life. And he said, oh, I've been following you and been watching your podcasts, and I see you on the Grizzly show. And he came. I said, well, first off, he's talking in there, so I don't know what he was going to start talking about. So I pulled him in the studio, and he was saying, oh, I'm starting my own agency, and I just want to. Do you have time to invest into me and to start my own thing? And I was like, oh, I appreciate it. I told him, I said, hey, I appreciate you coming in and spending, taking the time, taking your effort to come and try to chase me down. That to me speaks volumes. Oh, yeah. That's a lot. But I said, man, I am super busy to try to figure out a time where I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
But I would go through the right protocol, meet with the front desk staff and stuff like that, and kind of get things set up. But but why would I want to raise up a person that's probably going to want to come after, and that happens. I mean, even in my own staff. I don't think you are, but even my own staff in the past, I've had staff that's been under my payroll who, while they're under my payroll, were running competing agencies poaching our clients. We've had
a couple dinners over that.
Yeah, and so even through that, you're gonna have that.
That comes with being a dominant force, and that comes with being when you have that, you're doing something good. Because it's like for me, it's like one of my own guys saying like, well, yeah, CJ's the boss, but you know what, I'm gonna get my own yards on the side.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna start getting my own clients and
piggybacking off of you.
Correct.
On your time. On your dime.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember.
That's a shitty situation.
I had one employee that actually, he's no longer with us, but he had asked me. He's like, hey, you mind if I use like the chainsaw on the machines?
Yeah.
On Sunday, and there's only a select few guys that I let them use my machines to go cut their house. Fine, you have your house, go ahead. You take care of the stuff, go do it. And he's like, the guy asked me like, hey, I'm gonna start recruiting clients, on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna start, cutting
using
yards
your
on the side. And I said, well, with my equipment? I said, absolutely not. You're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But I'm all for with certain employees have that gift that to say, hey, look, they have a gift that you're not going to be able to hold on.
You can't hold them back.
Yeah, because they're so good.
Absolutely.
Because they're so good. So
and don't get me wrong, like I do that. Like there's employees like who are my best friends here at this company, and I had to make really tough decisions to let them go, and I told them flat out. I said, if you continue to stay here, I'm going to hold you back. Mm-hmm. Like not only, I mean, you're at a certain level here. I can only do so much for you.
Yeah.
And, and even to this day, I still mentor them. I still, I'm there for them. I provide them. They were once here for years, and now they're out starting their own businesses. Yeah. And I will help them. Like I will help people like that I know that, man, they have purpose. They're not going to come after me. They're not going to try to poach our clients. And I'm going to help them. Yeah. But like you said, there's a gift and skill with them that's unique.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people nowadays, especially, there's a lot of youngsters nowadays, who starting a business has been it's been glamorized. Mm-hmm. It's like I use this analogy a lot, or I like to use this analogy. It's like we go to the gym.
Yeah.
Right.
We go to the same gym.
We go to the gym.
Shout out to
Lifetime. It's Lifetime Fitness. Lifetime. Yeah. But we go to the gym, and there's a physique that we want. We want the muscles. We want the stress. All that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But people work to have a certain physique to get there. I mean, they have that for a certain physique. But people join the gym because they want that, but they don't want to work for it. Mm-hmm. And the moment that there's pain, and there's moment that there's that. Me and you, I'm sure you've gone like 20 years now in the gym, but almost. I'm 3 years in, but you're in it, but that it's going to take that pain to get there. Mm-hmm. If you want the six pack, you got a six pack, I think, but like you're fit.
I'm in dad bod mode.
Yeah, you're fit, right?
I'm in a dad bod.
But it takes that pain to get where you are. Mm-hmm. It takes that pain to get that physique, but many people who join the gym, what they do, they go in, they check in, or they buy the membership, mm-hmm. and they don't show.
Yeah.
Because they think that just by showing up, just by getting that membership, it's going to get them the success that they're looking for. And
the hustle sold separately. Like they say.
That's it.
The hustle sold separately.
You can go in, and these gym memberships, they thrive off people who sign up mm-hmm. and never show.
Yeah.
There's like just Lifetime's expensive.
Yeah.
And they have, I'm sure, if 100 people are signed up, only half of them are actually going to show up.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is it resembles what business ownership is. It's like people who try to start a business, or entrepreneurship, is that you got to be willing to go through the pain to get there.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to go through the failure. You know how many times that I'm sure you've had too as well. I don't want to show up to the gym. Mm-hmm. I mean, you go up. This guy right here, by the way, is at the gym at 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm on my Instagram and I'm like, this guy, like, man,
It's my only quiet time.
It's your
my
peace.
It's my peace, you
It's
know,
your peace,
because once
yes.
7 o'clock hits, the guys are rocking and rolling. So 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Things have changed now with the newborn, obviously. So
Are you still going at 5, 4, 4 in the
I'm
morning?
there at no later than like 7 o'clock.
Okay,
Now.
yeah.
Now, you know, when I was doing that, I was going out with the crews. So now that my crew's expanded, and now I'm pretty much, my day is meeting clients, going to go look at job sites, things like that. My days are less labor intensive. So I get to kind of go a little bit later now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, but like you said, it's about putting in that work, really. Like, people say like, oh, I want to be a business owner, entrepreneur.
It sounds fun.
Really, I mean, I've had people leave me. I had people leave me and say, yeah, well, I'm going to go start my own company. I said, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, little do you know, like, the behind
pain.
the scenes, you know, it's a lot of grind. And I think for me,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
for me, like, I've played sports my whole life. I played baseball. I played college baseball. I played baseball in Kansas.
Ohio State.
No. I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm a Ohio State,
that's right.
State fan.
Okay.
Don't tell my Kansas host family that, because they're Jayhawk fans. Right. But yeah, I mean, listen, I always like to use the mantra. I look at life through sports goggles.
Same.
So
it drives my team here crazy.
Everything.
I'm always using sports analogies.
Yeah, like, I mean, everything is competitive. Everything is a team.
Yeah.
What are you gonna sacrifice for the person next to you? Like, if we're playing a team sport, I mean, and that's what it really comes down to. And it's like, you know, and also knowing your role. Like, you know, there's guys that are Hall of Famers that makes millions of dollars and they're coming off the bench. You know, I mean, and you have to embrace your role and you have to know your skill set. And on the flip side, being the business owner, you have to realize everybody's skill set and put them in the right positions and understand, like, hey, like, this person is not good at this situation. Instead of firing them and letting them go, let me get to know that person and see where they're good at. They might be a very organized person, meticulous. Instead of having him out, you know, running wheelbarrows or cutting the lawn, this guy is going to organize my shop, make sure this needs maintenance.
Yeah,
this is up. Oil changes.
You got the running back. You got the quarterback.
Exactly.
You got the tight end. You got the safety.
It's, I mean, there's no playbook for this, and it's like, as
no, you weren't handed a playbook.
Yeah,
I wasn't either. Yeah, that's where that's the craziness. Of what we do. But, you know, going back to, you know, the no pain, no gain type thing. Like, you know, once people sign up saying, yeah, I want to start a business, I want to get going, and I see what, you know, I see what CJ's doing, and I want to do exactly what he's doing, because they see the success, but they don't see the pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
They see the glory, but they don't see the tears. They don't see the blood that was. They don't see the blood that was. I mean, there's times you got hurt. You're stressed. I mean, I could tell you right now, I'll be transparent, how many times I've cried, gone home, and I've sat there at my kitchen table and I've cried. And I talked about just the stress of running a business. Yeah. And
the fucking anxiety. You're like, you think you're going to have a fucking panic attack or some shit.
And I've done that
and
once.
You're freaking out and you're like, but.
And losing relationships and friendships over a business. And that's why I said, you know, it's not the easiest thing. Don't look. I don't want too many people look at the outside and say, man, I want to do with that. I want to do that. Yeah. But if you want to do it, just understand there's a price to pay. Yeah. Because where you are, because not only where CJ's at or where Hector's at, there's a price to pay to go through that. Not only just for them, for you and me, but also for our families. Yeah. Because I see you. I mean, you're working constantly. I mean, I'm trying to. Hey, CJ, let's go have lunch. Let's go hang out. Whatever. You're working constantly, and that's how I was too when I first started. It was just like that. Now I'm at a place where the team's like, Hector, get out the office. We don't want you here. Yeah. Right. But you know, there's a price that the family pays because they don't have their fathers around. Yeah. Because we're too busy out. You know, we're working. We know that we're investing. The more we just don't stop.
Yeah.
We're now programmed to just keep going, keep going.
Yeah, it's what you always text me and you're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm like, foot on the gas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to, and also too, like, I don't want to downplay how important it is to be an employee too, because obviously not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Like I watch, Patrick Beck David. He's he runs a successful podcast and he discusses the importance of there's an entrepreneur and there's an intrapreneur. How you can be really successful as an employee within the company. Like you're climbing up. Like my foreman, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben. He's probably gonna watch this. I'm gonna tell him to watch it.
Yeah.
He's like my right hand man.
Right.
The guy he's been with me the longest, and he has made his way to the top and is still growing to the top.
He gets the same benefits.
He's like everything. He calls me up from when he first started, like just riding in the truck. He runs his own crew of 5-6 people, and nothing is, oh, like you need to do this. It's hey, we got this problem. Oh,
He's
we
invested.
got going on. Like fully invested, and that's a definition of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because he's part of the company.
Absolutely.
Like he has the equity in the company and
Yes.
he believes in the vision and in the brand. And, people need to realize like, oh, if just because you don't own your own business doesn't mean that you can't be successful within the business.
That is absolutely that's fact. I mean,
Yeah.
that's absolutely 100% truth. You don't have to. You can be involved in a business and still be super successful.
Yeah.
And here at Brand Nation, I'm open to even sharing the profits and sharing a percentage of the company for people who are invested into it too as well. I mean but you don't have to go out and start your own business. In fact, let the crazies like me and you go out and do it. Right? Let us go out and worry about it.
Sometimes it's not even a financial gain.
Yeah.
Then that's really where it comes down to, where you pick, your employee's brain, and some people just like the recognition. Like, hey, Hector, you did an awesome job. Like great job. Like you're killing this project. Hey, so and so, you're doing a great, and that's their gain. Sometimes individuals, employees, they don't have a monetary. You can't satisfy them with the money, right? And then some people want the more pay.
Right.
I'm gonna grind now, but some people like the recognition, and again, leave it up to us to decide that, and we have to figure out which employee likes that, and then they get fully invested.
Well, let me ask you, what's your goal?
What's my goal, and within my business or life?
I mean, just life, business. 'Cause I think they both, to me, they're together.
Yeah. Well, my personal goal is, I know I'm here. Thank God, number one. I'm a very spiritual person. My goal is to just help others. And my thing is, if I'm blessed, I want to pay it forward. And that's every single morning, every single day, I ask God, put me in the position to help others.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to do. So my goal is to help as many people as I can, whether it's being a business owner and I have 10 employees, 20, 30, 40, helping those people.
Right.
Helping people that are pretty much in need. And I learned this all from like going back to my childhood. My grandma, rest in peace. I spent a lot of time in her house in South Bronx, 163rd Street, Simpson Street, Hunts Point. I spent a lot of time in her house. All my cousins were in there. It was a house, a little apartment, 3-bedroom apartment on the second floor. Always like at least like 8 people, 10 kids running around. And I was referring, it brought me back because I was watching the first episode. Like people were ringing the doorbell every day, all day. I'm like, who are these people? Yeah. And my grandma's like, no. She'd bring people in, come feed them. No, because she was known in the neighborhood. Right. So she would help people out that would, you don't have food to eat? Come over. You're gonna come have rice and beans and whatever it was, you're gonna come eat. So ever since I seen that and how much she's like one of my biggest inspirations. So every time I seen that, my goal is to help people with nothing in return.
Wow.
I don't want to, I don't want, my goal is here to serve. And, that's probably why I became a cop for the time being.
Right.
Because, I was able to help a lot of people in situations. And, I loved the job. I just didn't like the politics of it.
Yeah.
So I was able to help a lot of people that, I met. So.
And your grandmother played a very pivotal role.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah, my grandmother. I give a lot of credit to my parents who gave me a lot of structure. And I went to Catholic school too, up until 10th grade.
I know recently I saw you post something about you playing football or something like that. I was like, was that last year?
No.
It's like, you without the beard and the helmet.
Yeah. So, it was with my little brother. Yeah. So, I give a lot of credit to my parents for, giving me a lot of, I had a really awesome, for a kid that is from New York, born in the Bronx. I had a great childhood. I know you go back and said, a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
I didn't really have much struggles growing up because my parents, although they weren't wealthy, they were middle class police officers.
Yeah.
They made sure that they did everything for me and, make sure they provided the most. So, my goal is to pay it forward. And that's always been my thing. Like, hey,
taking care of people.
Yeah, take care of people. Pay it forward. Like the same way we did the Thanksgiving, the turkey giveaway. I call you like 2 days before. Hey, I want to give turkey.
Yeah, that was.
There's.
By the way, if you're watching this guy about last year in Thanksgiving, he called me 3 days before Thanksgiving, before the weekend,
with a bright idea.
Yeah, had a bright idea and said, hey, I want to give away X amount of turkeys, and we made it happen. And
we made it happen.
We
and
gave out turkeys, and there was people were we had over 400 people sign up for turkeys. We didn't have 400 turkeys.
Less than like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this year's gonna be we're gonna be able to reach a lot of more families, because we're gonna be more prepared. But I mean, look, it's
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to change the subject. But what is your most disappointing moment in a business?
In the business? My most disappointing moment.
Or what moment that you felt like I'm done? I mean, because there has to have been a moment because I'm finished.
My most disappointment moment.
Or just I'm finished. I failed.
So, like within the first year of my business, because I didn't have too much knowledge. Like I said, I didn't know really how to turn on a mower. So I hired a helper that I thought knew everything.
Right.
He obviously knew more than me. We got really friendly. We were because I'm out there working. I'm sweating with him every day. So at this point, he probably thinking me of either equal or maybe someone less of him,
right?
Because he knows more than me. But in reality, I'm his boss.
Yeah,
I pay
the paycheck. Yeah,
yeah. He got a little comfortable because I have a very relaxed. I'm very friendly with the guys, joking around.
Sure.
There was a time where he was just like, "Yeah, well, I'm not coming tomorrow," and I'm like thinking, well, I got 1, 2, 3 jobs. I got 5 lawns, and I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm freaking out because I'm relying on this guy to do it, to help me out.
Right.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, well, what am I gonna do without him? So after kind of like brainstorming, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go and do it myself. I went out and I literally went by myself. I hired a helping hand, and but at that moment, man, I mean, I was freaking out. I was freaking out because I was really relying on this person. But you know what it made me do? It made me like prepare myself for this game that I'm in. And it's like, okay, get ready. Next guy in, next guy up.
Right.
I would never let anybody make me feel that way again. Where I felt like I needed them, like to a point where everything was gonna fall apart.
Right.
So it made me get prepared, build a team. Okay, I don't know how to do this. We're gonna get this guy, but I'm gonna watch him closely. I'm gonna put people around him that know how to build a fence.
Yeah.
So if this person ever leaves me for whatever reason, the 3 guys that been working with him know how to do it, and we're gonna figure it out all together. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a disappointment moment, but it was like a panic mode. Like boom, like what are we gonna do?
How do you juggle fatherhood with business?
Ooh, I give a lot of credit to my wife because, you know, like I said, it goes back to the support team because I'm not there all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, from 6 in the I'm up, you know, 5, 6 in the morning. It says times where I don't come home.
Yeah.
But I make sure that the times that I do have free, that we're making the best of it.
Right.
You know, we'll go on a little road trip. We'll go out here. We're going out to eat. You know, making the best of it. But it's I know you always tell me, like, you know, stay in the moment. You always, even at your daughter's quinceañera, you talked about how much time you missed.
Yeah.
You know, because you were working.
Right.
But you know, like Tim Grover, we spoke about him, right? Tim Grover, Kobe Bryant. For those who don't know, Kobe Bryant's like mentor or coach. There's got to be someone. There's got to be someone, like a person like me, a person like you, that has to make that sacrifice.
Right.
And at the end of the day, everything we do is with good intention.
Yeah.
So your kids, my kids, will know, although that time was missed, that they're going to know, like, hey, my dad, like Garcia, Bula, I'm going to wear this name proud because my dad had to be the one to change the tide. So yeah, I mean, it's a struggle, and yeah, I mean, look, I wish I could spend more time with my kids and be home.
Same.
But I know that I'm building something that's gonna be great
for them.
For our brand, for
and
them.
their grandkids too.
And I'm fully confident that they're gonna understand that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fully confident that they're gonna appreciate and understand that. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. How do you handle stress? How do you? Yeah. What's your
the gym?
The gym. Yep.
The gym.
Yeah. Same.
I mean, put some headphones on.
Yeah. That's
throw up some weights.
Same. I couldn't. I feel like I can't run the business without that.
Yeah.
Like that's my therapy.
Yeah.
That's when Lizette here at the office, when she's stressing me out.
Yeah. I mean, go to the gym. You just put yourself through it. Like, you know, put yourself through the chaos in the gym. You know, the weights. To put yourself through the struggle. And, you know, I've been going to the gym since I was 17. Not 20 years yet, but not every workout is the best workout. But every workout is a mental workout where you're like, shit, like, you know what? You know, like, I'm going to just get through it. I'm going to push through it. So
I use an analogy of it's kind of like sex. Where
let's hear this one.
Let's hear, yeah. You gotta hit, like you gotta hit a climax.
Okay.
And whether you feel like it was the best or whatever, but you still climaxed. Yeah. And I hope, by the way, this is rated R.
We can curse on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, yes, cool. Yeah. But you know, once you hit that climax in the gym, it's like, okay, now I've done the job. It might not have been the best workout. It might have been
game.
Right. It's not been it might not have been
now,
the best
I'm
sex.
never gonna be able to get that out of my head.
Right.
Seriously, like now that analogy, I'm never gonna be able to get that out of my head.
And I've had a couple of friends who are trainers, and they try to tell me to do this. I said, no, I go, no, I have to hit that climax.
Yeah.
Like I have to hit that mental climax, knowing that I did what I need to do. Because it might take me 45 minutes. It might take me 2 hours to get there.
Or a minute.
Or a minute. Well, that's different. That's different. That's a different climax. That's most likely.
Yeah.
That's normally. Shit. Hopefully my kids aren't watching. Yeah. But yeah, no, it
happens, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where like I have to hit that moment in my mind. Okay, I'm done. Yeah. I did it.
Yeah.
Like I accomplished. I felt some pain. I felt the stress. I went to the point where even when I'm there at the gym, I don't want to do this, but I'm still doing it. I'm still fighting it.
Yeah. You got to develop like stress,
discipline.
Discipline and coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
You got to start to develop coping mechanisms in your mind and in your brain.
Have you ever been? Let me ask you this. Be transparent. I mean, you don't have to answer this if you don't want.
All right. Let's hear it first.
Yeah. You've ever been at the gym and cried?
At
the gym while you're working out?
Like no, I've never
Yeah,
but there's been times at the gym where, like a couple years back, where, you know, I was going through like a very high stress time, where I felt like I was gonna like just have fucking panic attacks all the time, anxiety all the time, but you fight through it, and it comes down to the coping mechanisms and how you train your mind and your brain. And the more you realize, like, hey, like, in your head you can train.
Yeah.
You can, this emotion triggers this triggers that. It's really about coping mechanisms, because we're all gonna deal with stress
differently.
no matter what. Yeah.
And I discovered I've been to the gym off and on for the last 10, 15 years. It doesn't show, but last 3 years I've been consistent and disciplined with it. But I've realized that through traumatic experiences in my life, that the gym was one that I got therapy. And like when I'm there and I'm doing, let's say, leg day. I love leg day, right? But because that's, to me, leg day is when I feel the most pain. And I'm feeling pain, and it reminds me of the pain that I went emotionally or whatever I've gone through in life.
So that's what caused you to cry.
Not that I cry all the time. I'm falling crying. But there's been times where I have cried, and I thought it was just me. But I just talked to somebody just recently. He goes, "No, I've gone through points in my life where I've been at the gym." And it was like about a week ago, I was at the gym, and I was like, I was watching videos, right? And I'll watch sometimes inspirational videos, and one thing was about fatherhood.
Yeah.
And that got to me, and I was like, man. And I was just working out, and I was like, I was acting like I had sweat, wiping the towel on my face.
Yeah.
But I always say that, man, you haven't really done the. I would say this: you haven't really done the gym mentally until you've been at the gym and you've cried.
Yeah.
When you've been there and you felt that pain.
Yeah.
And that pain is like, man, it's a point where like you've gone to a place where you're like in tears during the leg press. Yeah. But I've gone through that a few times. Not that I'm crying. I'm not crying all the time at the gym.
Yeah.
But I'm also
I'm
also a lot older than you too as well.
Yeah.
So my what's the thing that women get when they get older? Endorphins? Menopause. I don't have menopause. Not endorphins. What's that? Men has testosterone. Estrogen. So as you get older, I'm not sure if you knew this, but men get estrogen.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're a lot more sensitive as they get older. And I'm definitely a lot more. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more. I'm more sensitive than I was at 30, and I've noticed that. But anyways, but that's me. But
don't make me catch you crying in the gym.
I'm like, you need to start bawling, crying.
Like you're doing a leg press and you're
I'm
crying.
the emo goth kid with pajamas.
What's wrong with you, dude? You okay?
But okay. One last thing. Somebody wants to start a business. They want to start a business. They're 25, 26. They're most likely there's a lot of youngsters 18, 20 years old. I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna do stock trades and all that. That's different. But let's just say there's somebody that's 25, 26, new father, and they want to go into business. What is one thing that you would tell them?
Oh, number one, buckle up. And number two, really take a deep look into yourself and figure out what are your skills, like personal skills, like what's your skill set?
Right.
What are you good at? And then the business will come itself. Like me, like. For example, like I knew my skill set was my communication with people, my networking, my ability to talk to people. But I mean, if you tell me 10 years ago you'd have a landscaping company, I'd said never, because I don't know how to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I knew I would be in like the hospitality, service. So you really need to, maybe before deciding a business, find out what you're good at. Now, whether that's accounting, math, people person, whatever it is, I think you really need to figure out what your skill set is first, and then the business will kind of like make itself present for you and what it is. But yeah, I mean, buckle up, have a good support team. And I mean, if you have a kid too, I mean, obviously you have to explain to your other half like what these challenges are.
Right.
And understand, like, hey, look, if you want to start a business, you got to start today. You got to start yesterday, right? At if that's what you feel, and then you may feel like may not work for you, and that's okay. It's totally fine, because as a business owners, we need employees in this world as well.
Yep.
But if you feel strongly, I think with anything in life, you should go for it. I mean, if you feel like you have a dream or you want to pursue something, you should do it, because not to sound cliche, you only live once, so you have to go follow that. And my first business was a hat business.
That's right.
90
You're telling
till,
me
yeah, 90
right,
till.
right.
I had a lot of good support, but you know, it's no longer there.
Right.
So this is my second go along.
Sometimes
so,
it takes 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, 2-3 times. So
this is my 3rd time starting a business.
yeah. So my first business was, you know, clothing, you know, hats and things like that. But I mean, yeah, buckle up, have a good support team, research the market, and understand your skill set, because your skill set is going to take you a long way. If you're not a people person, you're not sociable, and you're trying to run a restaurant or a nightclub, good luck.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Because, you know, you're the face of your brand, and then follows your team. So I think that's important.
All right, last questions. I know this last one more question. What is your why?
What is my why? Are my kids. My kids move me. My family, my grandmother and grandparents, who you know, who's been a big inspiration to me. My goal, I've never, you know, shared this in public, but my goal is to, you know, go back to the South Bronx and open up a facility for kids under my grandmother's name, Maria Acosta. So, you know, I'm going to make sure that happens, and that's my why. We're going to keep pushing till we get there. So, although I know my residence right now is in Houston, I'll be back in New York soon, and I'll be back in the Bronx soon to show love, and yeah, that's where it is.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you being on the show.
I like the
man.
Shirt.
Thank you. By the way, Trump 2020, 2024.
Yeah.
Let's elect a felon this year, much better than the guy we have in office.
Let's go, baby.
But thank you guys for tuning in to the Habibi Show. Missed you, Samer. But you know, one thing that we were big advocates for here on the show is entrepreneurs. Both myself and Samer are entrepreneurs. Samer is my mentor, my brother, my Habibi, and now that he's out. But one thing we want to do is also support successful entrepreneurs like CJ here, who is getting started 3 years ago, but also a very successful businessman himself. He inspires me, even inspires many others too as well. And so I thought this story would be very important for you guys to watch. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Habibi Show.
Yeah.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Habibi. Love you too.